Now we're going to talk about the Blaze. Not Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider, although that would be cool if there was a mob like that in the game. No, these Blazes are less motorbike ridey, although just as on-fiery, and they're not played by Nicolas Cage. They are hostile mobs in Minecraft that are only found in one place, nether fortresses. Their mob spawners are in one particular type of room surrounded by fences. The Blaze has a few different attacks. Firstly, it periodically catches on fire, causing you damage if you touch it. Secondly, it will randomly fire out 3 fireballs in rapid succession, which not only set you on fire, but also the surrounding netherrack. Thirdly, there's a weak melee attack if you get close to it. Because they're big, spinny, burning, flying mobs of death, fighting them is quite hard. It's often difficult to get close enough to use your sword, and the relatively long charging time of the bow makes you very open to attack. Snowballs will hurt the Blaze and are a good way to attack it, and get close enough to finish it off with your sword. Blazes have the chance to drop a blaze rod upon death, but because they fly you need to be careful they're not over lava when they drop it. Blazes are useful because they drop more experience than most other mobs, making them good for experience farming.
Following the Halloween theme, the overworld's first flying mob has been added, the Bat. These are found in larger caves underground and will stop hanging from the roof when players approach. They're completely passive, although if you get fed up they can be killed.
Cats are a shy passive mob in Minecraft. They'll run away if you chase them, but if you hold really still with a raw fish in your hand, they'll stalk slowly towards you. Once they're within 5 blocks of you, if you feed them some pieces of raw fish, they'll become tamed. When they're tame, they turn into one of these furry felines, a Siamese, a black cat and a ginger tabby. Your tamed cat will follow you around, and they'll sit on demand. Annoyingly, they'll try to sit on your chests, your beds, and your active furnaces, and you can't open chests while they do. They'll also breed with other cats, once both have been fed with raw fish again. Their most useful feature, however, is that they scare away the explosive mob, the Creeper. A Creeper will take one look at the fierce, ferocious feline, feel frightened, and flee fast.
Cave spiders. Cave spiders are smaller, have a blue skin, and are able to poison you when they attack, so be wary. Cave spiders are only found in dungeons and abandoned mines.
Chicken refers to a couple of things in Minecraft, a mob and an item. Right now, we're only looking at the mob. Check the video at the end of this video for more about the item. The chicken mob is a passive creature within Minecraft, enjoying the dubious honour of being the weakest mob in the game, bar the tiny slime, and being the only mob in the overworld that can fly. It's also the only source of the raw chicken item, always dropping 1 upon death. It will also drop between 0 and 2 feathers, which are useful for making arrows. However, like sheep, it's also useful to keep some chickens alive, because every 5 or 10 minutes a chicken will lay an egg. Eggs can be used in making cakes, or for throwing like a dirty yobbo. Each thrown egg has 1 in 8 chance of hatching into a chick, and if you don't approve of throwing livestock, you can also breed 2 chickens using 2 pieces of wheat in the usual way.
You can also get clownfish, which cannot be cooked, and they're relatively yet less useful, only restoring half a hunger point.
Cows are a friendly mob that spawn randomly in Minecraft. They are found in almost all the biomes as long as there is grass to spawn on. They are the biggest of the friendly animals, but are slightly less common than pigs, sheep or chickens. This is because they drop between 1 and 3 raw steak when you kill them, more than the other animals drop. They'll also drop between 0 and 2 pieces of leather. You can also get milk off a cow if you approach it and right-click with a bucket in your hand, like so. Like a lot of other friendly mobs, they can be bred to produce a baby cow. But both of the cows have udders, so really the calf is adopted. The calf will grow into an adult cow in 1 Minecraft day, or about 20 minutes, and until they do, the parent cows will follow the little baby calf around. If you kill cows with fire, then they drop some cooked steak instead of raw steak. A creeper is in the spotlight. Even people who have never played Minecraft may recognise the hostile mob called the Creeper. Its fame is partly due to its lethal habit of exploding when near the player, causing a lot of damage to both you and your buildings. Based on a failed pig model that Notch attempted back in survival test, they are especially deadly because they are silent up until the moment they start to hiss. When aggroed, they will walk to within a small distance away from you and start to flash green and white. You only have about 1.5 seconds of this before the creeper explodes and causes a crater to appear. However, if you run out of their range, about 4 blocks away, then the countdown will stop. This makes them relatively easy to kill, provided you keep calm and notice them quickly. If you see one, run towards it and attack, and then run out of their range and repeat this until the creeper dies. Upon death, they drop between 0 and 2 gunpowder, making them useful for creating TNT. Not only have horses been added, but their donkey cousins have been too. These are smaller with pointy ears. Their main difference, however, is that you can add panniers to the rear end for your carrying needs. This is done by right-clicking on his back end with a chest, and once you've done this, shift right-clicking will open his chest inventory. Interestingly, the Elder Guardian is a hostile mob that spawns exclusively in the Ocean Monument. There are 3 of them for every Ocean Monument, and they guard the monument's various treasures. When you get near to the Ocean Monument, a ghostly image of the Elder Guardian will float around you, inflicting Mining Fatigue 3 on you, making it very difficult to mine through the structure until the Elder Guardians are killed. This effect is renewed every few minutes. Like the Guardians, they attack the player in 2 ways, using their beam-like ranged attack, and an attack similar to the Thorns enchantment. When you melee attack them, some damage is reflected off. If you manage to kill them, they have a chance to drop a collection of items: raw fish, prismarine shards and crystals, a wet sponge, and sometimes a rarer type of fish. When fighting underwater, the Depth Strider enchantment is super useful, and respiration or water breathing is almost necessary.
The Ender Dragon is Minecraft's only boss so far, and as close as you'll get to technically finishing the game. It can be found in the End, a dark and spooky realm populated by creepy Endermen. The first thing you'll notice when you get there is the tall obsidian pillars. They are important because on top of each one of them there's an Ender Crystal, a device which constantly heals the Ender Dragon when he's close. The Ender Dragon boasts 100 hearts of health and does a whopping 5 hearts of damage with each hit. Not only that, he has the ability to destroy every block he comes into contact with the exception of endstone, obsidian and bedrock. The best way to fight the Ender Dragon is to first destroy all the Ender Crystals so he can't heal, and then fire arrows at him until he dies. His death will trigger the generation of an End Portal and a Dragon Egg to be spawned, as well as lots of experience orbs. If you do fight him, be careful. Wouldn't want you dying on us.
You may be interested to know that as of 1.2.5, Ender Dragons do not destroy storage minecarts, making them a good place to store your items when you're in the end.
Endermen are mobs in Minecraft that have weird behaviour in a few ways. They have the ability to pick up certain blocks and move them around, which could cause damage to your house if they decide to take a wall down. Upon death, Endermen have the chance to drop an Ender Pearl. They are passive at first, but if you look at them, by putting your reticule on the Enderman's torso, they'll turn hostile and attack. Their method of attack is strange as well. They have the ability to teleport. When aggroed, they'll teleport away and then reappear a bit later behind you and attack. This makes it quite hard to fight them, as you need to either listen out to the sound of them reappearing and then swing to face them, or get your back to a wall. They'll take damage when they're in water, so if you're near a pool or a lake, then head into it, and they'll take damage when they teleport to you. If you head to the end, there's loads of Endermen, so take a pumpkin with you, because if you put on your head, the Endermen will ignore you, and you can focus on getting killed by the Ender Dragon.
The Endermite is a mob in Minecraft that has a chance to spawn in the location where an Enderman teleports from, or when a player throws an Ender Pearl. Don't worry about your world being covered by Endermites. Each Enderman can only spawn a certain number of them. They are hostile to players, dealing 2 damage per hit in normal, making them quite dangerous if you ignore them. Because the Endermite is based off the silverfish, it sometimes tries to burrow into blocks when left alone, but can't. Endermites will also take damage when walking on soul sand because they sink into the block and can't breathe.
Fish is an item in Minecraft found, bizarrely enough, by fishing. Using a fishing rod, you can click on any sized pool of water and a bobber will fly out of the fishing rod. After an average of about 15 seconds, the bobber will start to bounce up and down, and when you reel it in, a raw fish will fly out and hit you in the face. This raw fish item, when eaten, will heal you for 1 hunger point. However, like most meats, it can be popped back into a furnace along with some fuel and cooked. This cooked item will give you 2.5 hunger points back, and is full of omega-3, brain food. Recently, raw fish have been given another attribute, that of taming ocelots. If you hold very still until a curious kitty has sidled up to you, and then give it a few raw fish, it will transform into a faithful feline friend. Fish are useful as a food source because you can use any water source, even when you've just poured out of a bucket, to get them. And because raw fish don't poison you like a raw chicken can, it makes good emergency food source if you need it.
Fish are food items in Minecraft. There are quite a few of them. Using your fishing rod is the only way to catch them, and the 2 main varieties are caught as raw fish. All uncooked fish can be fed to ocelots to tame them. Both raw fish can be put into a furnace and cooked for a more beneficial hunger replacement. Because you can fish in any size of pool, once you get enough string, then fish are a pretty viable source of food.
Ghasts are big, square and tentacly. They're flying mobs that wander around the nether making high-pitched squeals. These noises don't fade as you get further away, often making ghasts sound closer than they are. They have a long attack range, and when they spot you, they'll shoot a flaming fireball in your direction. The fireball explodes and sets fire to blocks on impact, making ghast fighting a tricky business. However, these fireballs can be deflected with a well-placed arrow or by blocking them with your sword. Ghasts can be killed either by deflecting their fireballs back at them, or by shooting them with arrows, and upon death they have the chance of dropping a ghast tear. If you're farming ghast tears, it's often a good idea to get ghast to low health, and then make sure it's above an accessible place before you kill it. Ghasts also drop between 0 and 2 gunpowder, although if you're trying to farm gunpowder, then creepers are more plentiful and easier to kill.
This video is all about the underwater mob, the Guardian. It's an underwater hostile mob and resembles a giant pufferfish-like creature which inhabits and defends the treasures of the ocean monument, patrolling both inside and out. However, being above water isn't a certain safe option. They can target you whilst you ride in a boat too, attacking you with their long-range beam-like attack. They are also covered by 12 spines, and if you attack them whilst those spines are protruding, you will take a small amount of damage. Armour is essential, buffs are recommended. Killing them is more simple when they are grounded, and whilst they don't suffocate, they're not in their comfort zone and flap around helplessly. When killed, they can drop prismarine shards and crystals, raw fish, and rarely raw salmon, clownfish and pufferfish.
Horses and mobs in Minecraft added in Update 1.6. They spawn in plains biomes and act much like real horses, even down to different markings. When you first meet a horse, it's wild. The first step is to tame it. This is done by approaching the horse and right-clicking with an empty hand. You'll get on and get thrown straight back off again. Don't worry, this will happen a few times. Then the horse will change its mind, hearts will appear, and it will be tamed. Then you can get off the horse and shift right-click to open its inventory. Place a saddle in the saddle slot and remount your horse. You can also equip horse armour as well, to give the horse armour. Breeding is possible with horses too, by feeding them a golden apple. And in all cases, the offspring of the two horses has better stats than them, including speed, health, and jump strength. Speaking of jump strength, you can charge up a horse's jump by pressing space until the bar below is full with bouncy effect. Horses can also go up 1 block inclines, making riding them easier. However, be careful, they hate water, and while they'll go in 2 blocks of water, they won't go any deeper.
Of course, iron golems will spawn in a large village with at least 10 villagers and 21 houses. You can also create them using iron blocks and a pumpkin. Now, they all attack hostile mobs, apart from creepers, making them great guard dogs, especially if you have a guard cat as well for the nasty green blow-uppy thingies. They are similar to wolves in this purpose, but are stronger and have many more hit points. The downside is, of course, that they cost more resources, can't be bred, and won't focus on defending you as much as killing everything they can. You can put them on a lead and take them around with you, or tie them to a post outside your house. Because of their size, they are quite slow, and although they don't take fall or drowning damage, they can get stuck underwater sometimes. You can make an iron golem farm to collect iron ingots.
Magma cubes are large square hostile mobs in Minecraft that are found in and around the Nether. They look similar to the green slime mob, but with a black and red skin and glowing eyes. When they move, they bound up and separate into layers, giving the impression of a slinky or spring. If you look carefully as they jump, you will see their molten lava core. They can damage you if they jump on you, so be careful when fighting them. Like slimes, once you defeat the large magma cube, it splits into smaller magma cubes, and then into tiny magma cubes. The large magma cube and the medium magma cube both have the chance to drop a magma cream upon death, which is used in potion making. Because the magma cube has a lot of hit points, and rather than dying splits up into smaller ones, it can often make fighting them quite difficult. Make sure you're not near any high drops, or you don't get surrounded by magma cubes. A good tactic is to wait until it's in the air and hit it back with your sword.
There's a second type of cow called the mushroom. Mushrooms are crazy mobs in Minecraft. They are red and white spotted cows with red toadstools sprouting out of the back of them. They can be sheared with shears, which will produce between 2 and 5 mushrooms and turn them back into normal cows. Or they can be right-clicked with a wooden bowl, which will give you 1 mushroom stew. Therefore, they're useful to have as a renewable food source. If you kill them, they drop leather and steak like ordinary cows, and they can be milked with a bucket just like ordinary cows too. They live in a special biome known as the giant mushroom biome, a bizarre place full of mycelium and giant red and white mushrooms. If you breed 2 mushrooms together, they produce a baby mushrooms. These babbies can't give you stew and can't be sheared until fully grown, but you can milk them right away.
Interestingly, mating a horse with a donkey will produce a mule. These are a sterile combination of the two, with a size closer to a horse, but ears and manes of a donkey. Like their donkey daddy, mules can have saddles and chests on their back.
Ocelots are a shy passive mob in Minecraft, to everything but chickens that is, and they're found in the jungle biome. They'll run away if you chase them, but if you hold really still with a raw fish in your hand, they'll stalk slowly towards you. Once they're within 5 blocks of you, if you feed them some pieces of raw fish, they'll become tamed. Yeah, pigs are a passive mob in Minecraft, and although there's no bacon in the game yet, sad face, they are the sole suppliers of the raw pork item. They're pink and they're sort of derpy looking and drop between 0 and 2 raw pork upon death, unless of course you kill them with fire, in which case it's 0 to 2 cooked pork chops. Yummy. Something slightly strange about the pig mob is that if you get a saddle from the dungeon chest, you can right click on the pig and ride it around. It's a bit bizarre, but the pig gets its own back because there's no way to steer it. In fact, there is an achievement in Minecraft for riding off a cliff on the back of a pig. Like most other passive mobs, pigs can be bred, and a tiny but big-headed piglet will be spawned. Interesting fact, the creepy crackly C4 filled mob the Creeper is actually a failed early pig model.
Lastly, you can catch a pufferfish. Now this fish differs in that if you eat it, you'll get hunger, nausea and poison for varying lengths of time. The pufferfish can, however, be put into the brewing stand to make water-breathing potions. The cooked salmon is the most beneficial of the fish, restoring 3 hunger joints.
Rabbits are mobs in Minecraft as they're mostly passive. They come in many colours and will hop and bound around your world. However, if you go near them, they'll avoid you like the ocelot do. They can be tamed using carrots, and again you have to remain still like with the ocelot. Once tamed, they can be bred with both types of carrots or dandelions. Like horses, the baby will be the same colouring as the parents. When killed, rabbits drop rabbit hide, rabbit meat, and sometimes a rabbit's foot. Wild rabbits, if they get into your farmland, will find your carrots and destroy them. There's a very, very rare hostile rabbit, the killer rabbit of Caerbannog, which has a dangerous attack. Those who know their Monty Python will instantly get the reference, but don't treat this rabbit lightly. In fact, it might confuse it if you ran away a bit more. The raw salmon is a food item in Minecraft. There's a chance to obtain it when you're fishing, along with a collection of other things. It can also be dropped from a guardian, although this is a rare drop, so not that reliable. On its own, the raw salmon restores 2 hunger points, although sticking it in a furnace produces a cooked salmon, which restores 6 hunger points and much more saturation. Like other raw fish, it can be used to tame ocelots by wielding it near them and standing very still. When you're fishing, there's a certain chance of getting junk instead of useful fish. This junk chance can be decreased using the lure enchantment, which is very useful if you rely on fish as your main food source.
Sheep are passive mobs that walk around happily in-game eating grass. They supply you with wool, which you can get off them either by shearing them or killing them. Shearing a sheep requires shears, obviously, and you can get between 1 and 3 pieces of wool. Killing the sheep is less profitable, getting you only 1 wool, but it's more useful early on in the game when you don't have the materials for shears. Sheep will eat tall grass and over time will grow their wool back again. Sheep, like a lot of other animals in Minecraft, will mate with each other if you feed them both wheat, and then after a short time will produce a baby animal. Sheep naturally occur in a few different colours: white, black, grey, brown and pink. Each colour of sheep will give that colour of wool when they're sheared or killed. Sheep can also be dyed in different colours with dye, and will then yield that colour of wool. This is a good way to get lots of dyed wool.
A new mob, the Shulker, strongly resembles other blocks in the end, but will reveal itself and shoot projectiles at the player. Besides damage, the projectiles will force players to levitate against their will.
The silverfish is a mob that lives deep underground in strongholds. They're bizarre, bug-like creatures that will spawn in a special block known as Block 97. This block looks identical to these blocks, but when you destroy this mysterious Block 97, a silverfish will spawn and start to attack. Not only that, but when you fight back, there's a chance you'll awaken other silverfish inside blocks in this area, making for an unexpectedly tough fight if you aren't prepared. As well as spawning from Block 97, there's also a silverfish spawner inside every end portal room of each stronghold. Now, as there's always lava inside this room as well, it makes a swarm of silverfish quite hard to deal with if you get overrun.
Skeletons are one of the 10 hostile mobs in the game, and arguably the most useful. Skeletons are armed with bows and have quite a long attack range, making them very dangerous when you can't reach them. Their ranged arrow attacks will take off between 1 and 3 hearts, depending on the map difficulty, and they have 10 hearts of health. They walk around and are known to bounce and jump a lot, which makes trapping them in pits slightly easier. They drop both bones, between 0 and 2, and arrows, also between 0 and 2. This makes them valuable because bones can be made into bone meal, which in turn can be used in a lot of ways. Like a lot of hostile mobs, skeletons are vulnerable to the sun, and will burst into flames when the sun appears unless they are in shade or in water. Skeletons can also fire through doors when they are placed like this. So be sure to place your door like this, otherwise you might take damage from their arrows. If a skeleton arrow hits another hostile mob, they will attack the skeleton. This is a good trick for getting out of sticky situations. If a creeper is killed by a skeleton, it will drop a music disc. A very rare occurrence is the spider jockey, a skeleton spawned sitting on a spider.
Slimes in Minecraft. They're green mobs that are found in the overworld, in the bottom 40 layers of the overworld to be precise. They spawn in caverns in certain areas and have the ability to see the player through walls. Each slime is made up of smaller versions of itself. That is, when you kill a huge slime, which has 8 hearts of HP and does 2 hearts of damage by jumping on you, when you kill it, it will split into 4 large slimes. These each have 2 hearts of HP and deal 1 heart of damage, and when you kill a large slime, 4 tiny slimes will spawn. It's these tiny slimes that will drop the mob drop, the useful slime ball, and they have half a heart of HP and deal no damage at all. For more about where the slime spawns and possible mob traps for the green globs of goo, go to the wiki page on the subject. The snow golem is Minecraft's answer to the snowman. It's made using 2 snow blocks and a pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern, but be careful. Because it's made of snow, it'll die very quickly in the hot desert or the humid jungle biomes. Snow golems are your friends because they'll hasten towards any hostile mobs in your area and begin to throw snowballs at them. This is next to useless, however, because the snowballs deal no damage, only serving to knock the hostile mob back. This can, however, lead to some interesting defense ideas, such as this one, or this one. In certain biomes, snow golems will leave a trail of snow wherever they go, making snowball farming very quick and easy once you've learned how to use it. Because they're made out of snow, the snow golems will take damage when they're touched by water, either as rain or on the ground, so be careful where you build your freezing friend.
But the snow golem's main use is to keep enemies away, which you can do in a turret, i.e. a protected area around your house where the snow golems can throw snowballs at mobs but not be attacked. There are 2 sorts of turrets: pushing turrets, where you can push mobs away from the house, and pulling turrets, used to lure mobs towards a death trap. Pushing turrets are easier but won't harm mobs in and of themselves. If you stick some snow golems behind fences in your house, they'll keep it clear. If you want to kill the mobs, go for a pulling turret. Have a pit of lava between your one snow golem and the mob. As the golem attacks the mob, it'll aggro it into the lava. The pulling turret requires less golems but is weaker against multiple mobs. Of course, you can also use snow golems offensively. A mob will aggro towards them rather than you, letting you attack them at will. Lastly, you can gather vast amounts of snow with a snow golem by placing them in a hole and digging up the snow that they deposit.
Are found almost everywhere, and there's a 1% chance of a spider spawning with a skeleton riding it, making a spider jockey. Spider jockeys combine the range and health of a skeleton and the speed and climbing of a spider, so be careful when fighting them. Although spiders can climb walls, they can't enter any gap that's only 1 block wide, so doing something like this is a good way to keep them at bay.
Ugh. Anyway, that aside, the squid is a passive mob in Minecraft that lives in the water. So far, it's the only fully water mob, as well as having 8 tentacles instead of 4 like real-life squids. The mob also has teeth in its back end, which are purely aesthetic because squids can't harm the player. When you kill a squid, it'll drop between 1 and 3 ink sacs used in dyeing wool and making books. As they move along, their 8 tentacles open and close, giving the appearance of a propulsion. Seeing that they're water mobs, they won't be affected by currents, but they are pretty weak swimmers. Because squids can spawn in any size and depth of water, they'll sometimes spawn in your pools, and you'll get a sad-eyed squid staring dolefully at you.
Villagers are passive NPCs or non-playable characters that are found wandering around their villagery home. They have large heads and big saggy noses. No one really knows why. There are 5 villagers currently in the game: the farmer, the librarian, the priest, the blacksmith and the butcher. Villagers will trade with the player if you right-click on them, and they make different offers depending on their profession. Villagers can and will mate when there's not many of them in the village. This happens the same way as farm animals mating, and the resulting villager children are tiny and will run around speedily chasing each other. Villagers will run indoors at night and close the doors, and it's just as well as zombies will come and try to knock the doors down. To protect them, there's the Iron Golem, not technically a villager, but still a friendly face around the village. However, if a zombie succeeded in infecting a villager, you'll get a zombie villager.
Witches are hostile mobs in Minecraft. They look somewhat similar to the villager, but with a hat and a wiggly nose. They can be found in swamp huts, also called witch huts, but the way they're really unique is their fighting style. They launch various potions at you, depending on how far away you are and your current health. They launch slow potions, potions of weakness, poison potions and harming potions. They can also drink fire resistance and healing potions, making them the only non-boss mob who can heal and pretty much impervious to fire attacks. If you manage to get the first hit in, then the witch may try and heal and thus can't attack, meaning you can attack her some more. Using a bow is a good idea, as it has a higher range than any of the potions that she throws. Lastly, she drops the most variety of items out of any mobs in the game. She can drop glass bottles, glowstone dust, gunpowder, redstone, spider eyes, sticks and sugar. Wither is a boss in Minecraft which is unique in many ways. Firstly, it's the only hostile mob that is built. That's right, it's assembled using 4 soul sand in a T-shape like so. They're the 3 wither skeleton skulls, each one adorning a limb. As the wither spawns, it will flash blue and grow larger as its health bar fills up. Then it will cause a large explosion around itself, destroying mobs and blocks. Be careful, up until that point it's impervious to damage. It will then start attacking any non-undead mobs around it, including you. Each head will fire a projectile called the Wither Skull. If this hits you, and you're on normal or hard difficulty, it will cause an effect called the Wither. This is basically poison, except potentially lethal. This is a super hard boss to kill. The recommended gear is a diamond sword with enchantments, health potions and golden apples, an enchanted bow and diamond armor. If you manage to kill the Wither, it will drop a nether star, used in making beacons. The Wither Skeleton is a mob in Minecraft found inside the ominous Nether Fortress. They are larger than their overworld cousins and carry a sword instead of a bow. When a skeleton spawns in a Nether Fortress, it has an 80% chance to be a Wither Skeleton, same if you use a spawn egg. When the Wither Skeleton hits you, you're inflicted with the Wither effect, poisoning the player and making all your hearts go black. Upon death, they have the chance to drop bones and coal, and also a lesser chance to drop their sword and even their skull. Because this skull is needed to make the Wither boss, farming Wither Skeletons is a late game necessity. One way to do this is to make a 2-block high cubby hole, as the taller Wither Skeletons can't get in there. Of course, if you have plenty of arrows, this is also a great way to attack, because the Wither Skeleton, like the zombie, has to get close to kill you.
Wolves are neutral mobs in Minecraft, introduced in Update 1.4. They are found in 3 different biomes: the forest, the pine forest, and the tasia biomes. They travel in packs and will ignore you at first, but if you attack them, then they'll turn hostile. However, they can also be tamed using a few bones. Once the wolf is tamed, a red collar appears, and it will follow you around unless you right-click on it and tell it to sit. Tamed wolves will attack whatever you're attacking, with the exception of creepers. This makes them a good ally in PvP servers and against monsters. If you travel too far away from the wolf and it's not sitting, it will teleport to you, just like any faithful doggy companion should. Keep an eye on the wolf's tail though, because how high the tail points is an indication of how much health the wolf has. If it has poor or low health, feed it with some meat. This will also put the wolf into breeding mode, where hearts come out of its head. As with all other friendly mobs, once 2 nearby wolves are in breeding mode, they'll come together and poof, a baby wolf will appear.
Zombies are a hostile mob in Minecraft that look a lot like Steve the Miner, except possessed by a terrifying and a horrible curse, undeath. They have 20 hit points, and can deal between 3 and 6 HP of damage without armor, depending on your difficulty. Upon death, they'll drop between 0 and 2 pieces of rotten flesh, and also have the chance to drop a rare iron item. Rotten flesh is for eating, but it's likely to get you poisoned, so better to feed it to your wolves. Like skeletons, zombies will catch fire and burn in the sunlight. When the sun comes up, zombies will often seek the shelter of trees and shade. Be careful when you're in hard mode, as zombies have the scary ability to be able to break down your door. They'll go after you if you aggro them, and shutting your door will just make them crowd around it and beat it down. Zombies also have it in for the friendly NPC villagers, chasing them around the village at night and trying to get inside their houses. Luckily, the Iron Golem can protect them. Go Iron Golem!
Zombie villagers are mobs in Minecraft that can either spawn or be created. They have a 5% chance to spawn instead of a regular zombie, or if a zombie kills a villager, there's a chance that that villager will turn into a zombie. 50% chance on normal difficulty and 100% on hard. Now, you might want to turn them back, which is doable. First, you throw a splash potion of weakness at them, and then feed them an unenchanted golden apple. The zombie villager will hiss if it's successful and begin to shudder. Of course, de-zombifying takes time, 2 to 5 minutes of time, and in that time the zombie villager can still attack you and still die from all the normal causes, including sunlight. If you're curing more than one, it's a good idea to isolate them, so that the first de-zombified villager isn't horribly mutilated by his still zombified companion. After the process is completed, you'll be left with a slightly shaken villager who can then get on with his life.
Zombie pigmen are neutral mobs that spawn in the nether naturally, wandering around with a gold sword in their hand. At first, they're indifferent towards the player, but if you hit them, then all of the zombie pigmen in a certain area will aggro and come running after you. As each one can do 2.5 hearts of damage, a horde of angry zombie pigmen is quite a dangerous occurrence. Not only that, they're immune to fire damage, so a fire aspect sword won't deal any additional damage and you can't kill them with lava. If you go far enough away, they'll lose sight of you. Or you could take the nether portal out to escape, but watch out when you return. Upon being killed, zombie pigmen have the chance to drop 1 rotten flesh, and also have the chance to drop 1 golden nugget. They also have the rare chance to drop either a gold ingot, a gold sword, or a gold helmet. Interesting fact, zombie pigmen can actually spawn in the overworld if a pig is struck by lightning, but this is quite rare.